Okay, we're going to go ahead and kick this webinar off. Welcome to today's webinar, the 2024 CE Trends and Year Ahead, hosted by OpenBrand. My name is Stacy Hughes, and I will be the moderator for today's event. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. Today, we will be recording the session, and all webinar follow-up will be sent within the next couple of days. We are allowing Q&A as we go along, but we will answer those questions at the end of the session. You can post your questions in the under the activities tool down at the bottom. As you can see this little icon there, you can click on that and the questions will be posted to the host. That would be Valerie, Scott, and myself, and we'll take a look at those. Time permitting at the end, obviously we're allowing questions, and then any question that we don't get to, we will absolutely address and email those out after the event. We have muted all participants and taken off the video just to keep that limited for recording issues and allow maximization of the screen and presentation today. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. I'd like to introduce our host today. We have with us Valerie Aldi-Heyman. Valerie covers IT categories here at OpenBrand. She's been a senior analyst for over 12 years. She's very well established with a reputation in delivering insightful analysis and thought leadership in this particular category. We also have Scott Peterson, a senior analyst. Scott, welcome, covers home entertainment categories here at OpenBrand, and he has over 14 years of experience supporting the strategic efforts of the world's top brands and is recognized for his thought leadership in this industry as well. Thank you all for joining us today, and I'm going to kick it off to Scott.
Thanks for those great introductions, Stacy, and thanks again for joining us today. Before we get started, just a little bit about who OpenBrand is and kind of what we're doing here. So OpenBrand was founded in 2023, but has been in the business of consumer electronics and consumer durables for over 20 years. OpenBrand combined 4 powerhouse companies, including Gap Intelligence and Trackline, in order to deliver the most powerful market intelligence available to the industry. As one company, we're bringing together the most trusted pricing and promotions, market share, and consumer insights data in the business, delivering market measurement and competitive intelligence solutions that power stronger decisions and strategies for our clients. Here's Val.
Thanks so much for that overview of who we are, Scott. This is really great because all the ingredients that Scott talked about is what our clients have access to and what's fueling all of the insights that we're sharing today. And the purpose of today's presentation is to provide all of you with insights into key trends that shape 2024 holiday season, what we observed at CES, and how these insights can help you prepare for what's ahead in 2025. We've packed this session with actionable data and takeaways, so here's what we'll be covering. First off, big holiday moments. We'll take a closer look at the holiday shopping period, including the pivotal days between Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday, and we'll explore how these moments define consumer behavior and sales trends for the season. Next up, promotions and consumer behavior. This segment of the presentation dives into which promotions caught the attention of shoppers, which fell flat, and how consumer preferences and buying habits evolved during the holiday period. Then standouts. We'll highlight the products and categories that drove the most excitement in sales during the season. Whether it's groundbreaking tech or unexpected wins, we'll cover the standout items that dominated this key shopping period. Finally, predictions. Predictions for 2025. Using what we've learned from the holiday season and CES, we'll share our thoughts on what's coming next, emerging trends, areas of growth, and challenges to prepare for in the year ahead. So we've got a lot to unwrap here. Let's go ahead and get started by diving into the big holiday moments that define the 2024 shopping season. So here are 2024's big holiday moments. Let's start out by looking at the big picture and what framed up the 2024 holiday shopping season. The season demonstrated robust consumer demand, with spending showing notable strength. The e-commerce channel in particular stood out as a clear driver of growth, with U.S. consumers spending a remarkable $241.1 billion online between November 1st and December 31st, representing a year-over-year increase of 8.7%. And when we break it down by category, electronics stood out as a top performer. Sales in this category increased by 8.8% year over year, reaching $55.3 billion. One of the key factors behind this growth was strong discounting, which we'll talk a lot about throughout this presentation. This helped boost sales of higher ticket items across categories. Merchants and their partners strategically use promotions to attract budget-conscious shoppers, especially in categories like electronics, as I said, where deep discounts made a big impact. And these trends set the tone for a highly competitive holiday season with clear opportunities for those who leaned into these value-driven strategies. Another factor that shaped the 2024 holiday shopping season was the shorter time frame for consumers to shop. With only 27 days between Thanksgiving and Christmas, this was the shortest holiday season we've seen since 2019. As part of a response to this, we saw holiday deals start earlier than ever. Ads and promotions ramped up well into October, with Amazon's Big Deal Days serving as the unofficial start to the holiday season. This earlier push allowed brands and retailers to capture spending before the traditional holiday rush. However, despite the earlier start, Black Friday and Cyber Monday remained the key drivers of sales. These legacy shopping events continue to anchor the holiday season, drawing in consumers with highly anticipated promotions and discounts. The shift towards earlier deals, combined with the ongoing importance of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, highlights just how the holiday season and shopping landscape is evolving to meet both consumer expectations while working with a little bit of a different calendar this year.
Thank you, Val. And you're right. Those legacy sale days are still supremely important. OpenBrand's analysts and data collection teams were out and about visiting stores across the US on Black Friday itself, the main event. And for many shoppers, this was already like the third year in a row that Black Friday shopping has been conducted mostly via mobile. So gone are the days of camping out for early deals. There just is no need to. And those early deals started earlier than ever, like we just heard. So the urgency is gone. As a result, the day's activity felt a bit more leisurely in pace. In fact, observing Black Friday shoppers in their natural habitat gave a good window into consumer motivations. And that aligns with a lot of trends that we're going to see in a few slides here. Mainly, though, people were looking for value and really making their trip out to retail count. Stopping off at several Costco's showed just how many Black Friday shoppers prioritized visiting warehouse club stores. The parking lots and foot traffic were very active. Members were clearly using this day not only for Black Friday buys, but all their usual Costco shopping needs as well. One thing that I did find rather curious, though, was how empty the online order pickup zones were across retailers. Shoppers did not seem to be using this tactic on Black Friday itself at all, even at mass merchant destinations like Target and Walmart. And based on my store visits around here, Best Buy remained the most popular of all Black Friday destinations. There was not a single open spot in the parking lot, and every department had lines of people waiting to check out. It is clear that Best Buy is the go-to retailer for Black Friday shoppers. And while many merchants utilized floor stacks and interesting POP displays, it was impossible to navigate through Best Buy stores without colliding into its massive stock of TVs. Every orifice of the store seemed it was filled to the brim with TV overstock. This told us that Best Buy would be heavily promoting its exclusive brands like Insignia and Pioneer throughout the season, plus TVs from juggernauts like Samsung and LG, of course, while using its storefronts for enhanced omni-channel fulfillment here. Shoppers were then left to just traverse stacks and stacks of these TVs. It truly was the most wonderful time of the year. Then our sights were set on Cyber Monday, or should I say Cyber Week now. What started as a busy Monday of folks using their work computers with high-speed internet in the early 2000s to get deals they missed out on from last Friday has now turned into a full-blown week-long online sales bonanza. And this is the time of the year I like to call what we reach peak saturation, meaning that categories we track here at OpenBrand have the highest proportion of products on promotion. This is what you see here. Examples from vacuums and headphones that show that the period brings a darker blue wedge here, larger, which is the percentage of products on promotion. Here, specifically 47%, 38%, you see, which will be the highest percentages of this year. True across many of the categories we track each and every cycle. Well-trained shoppers will often wait for Cyber Week to time purchases. However, we noticed that this year's Cyber Week brought somewhat lower on-promo percentages across CE and HA categories compared to earlier years. Now, this really shows the impact of all those early sales events. Still good here, but not record-breaking saturation levels as those marketing dollars shifted earlier and earlier into the season, as Val described. Shoppers noted that these early sales did actually help clarify their Cyber Week purchases, but cited that reduced urgency during the week itself. So what still did motivate spending out there was online exclusivity. Many promotions were exclusive to online platforms, encouraging digital sales and competition among e-commerce players. The flash sales and limited offers of Cyber Week gave timed deals that created this urgency here, both driving impulse buying and rewarding those that did indeed wait.
Thanks again, Scott. Those were some really insightful data points on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So I'd really love to dig into this a little bit deeper, but this time from the perspective of promotions and consumer behavior, starting with just general awareness of these shopping events. Now, I do want to note that some of you on this call may find these upcoming insights familiar. These were featured in our weekly market intelligence reports just after we wrapped up Cyber Week, but let's go ahead and talk about them here. So we took a look at our mindshare data, this was previously called Durable IQ, to really understand consumer awareness of and behavior both before and after Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And we've got a lot of questions about this, and what our mindshare data really shows is, well, to start off, our mindshare data is the largest consumer durables tracking survey in North America. Began in 1999, and we survey 600,000 people balanced to the US Census annually. So here's what we did. Our team conducted a consumer survey during the lead-in to and after Black Friday and Cyber Monday in order to gain insight into shoppers' intent and event-driven behavior. And what we found, and it's really no surprise, is that Black Friday continues to be the most well-known event when it comes to awareness around post-Thanksgiving sales events. According to our survey results, 93% of US consumers knew that merchants would be offering special deals on Black Friday. 35% actively planned to shop the event. Respondents were also very familiar with Cyber Monday as an annual sales event following the holiday weekend. 74% knew that merchants would be offering special Cyber Monday deals. 25% planned to shop on that day. Now, what's really interesting here is how awareness of these events, particularly Cyber Monday, changed after the shopping weekend. While awareness of Black Friday didn't really change, awareness of Cyber Monday deals jumped 12 points to 86%, which was definitely due to the heavy marketing used to position Cyber Monday as an extended opportunity for those who missed out on Black Friday sales. Many of our survey respondents even reported not shopping anywhere at all on Black Friday. Scott and I were talking about this earlier, and Scott, you were one of those people who did not shop on Black Friday in 2024. So this really positioned, I know. But you know what? It really helped position Cyber Monday as a great chance to target shoppers who were previously hesitant to commit to purchasing. Also seemed to positively impact surrounding shopping days that don't usually get as much popularity, as awareness of Small Business Saturday rose 44% following the event, and Giving Tuesday set a boost in awareness up to 36%. So what did people intend on spending? How much did they actually spend, and what did they buy? So let's go ahead and direct our attention to the top of this visual. We're going to look at the chart on the top. And those intending to shop on Black Friday and Cyber Monday had clear expectations heading into these shopping events. Most consumers wanted to keep budgets capped at $500, with 38% wanting to spend between $150 and $499, 38% aiming to spend below $150. However, of the respondents that shopped on Black Friday this year, 51%, just over half, ended up spending under $150, showing that shoppers were focusing less on big ticket items. Less than 15% of shoppers reported spending over $500, 5 points down from earlier intent going into the event. So I know there are a lot of stats here, so let me just really frame up what's going on here. Let's draw our attention all the way to the left of that top chart, the area where respondents spent under $49. 19% of Black Friday shoppers ended up spending under $49. That's up 11 points compared to pre-event intentions. So to say that a little bit differently here, and really drive this message home, about 1 in 5 shoppers ended up spending under $49. And many of these shoppers actually intended to spend more. So now if I had to imagine how this played out and really put myself in that shopper's shoes, I could see a shopper visiting a website, seeing an enticing icon on that site that says something like gifts under $50, maybe even gifts under $10, then clicking through and doing their shopping almost exclusively within those items. A lot of shoppers probably didn't intend for this to be their shopping experience, but hey, it worked out. And like I said, now we have roughly 1 in 5 shoppers during the event spending under $49. So now let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit and direct our attention to the chart on the bottom to discuss what purchases were made by consumers. Home goods, including clothing, jewelry, and toys, made up the largest portion of intended purchases for Black Friday, with 48% planning to make purchases from this category on the day, followed by 42% ultimately making that purchase. The something else category surpassed consumer electronics as the next highest priority for shoppers, another testament to the performance of low dollar items during the event compared to planned purchases. 43% of respondents made unplanned purchases on Black Friday, with good, great, and low pricing being the motivator for around 1/4 of them. And these trends highlight cautious consumer spending and a notable preference for low-cost, unplanned items, signaling opportunities for retailers and their partners to focus on pricing strategies and product mixes that appeal to these shoppers going into this year. So let's look further into other categories. 39% of Black Friday shoppers that had intended to purchase consumer electronics slipped to just 24% of those that actually made a consumer electronics purchase, which may indicate consumer reluctance to commit to and follow through on the technology purchases they intended. The percentage of those purchasing appliances, which was the third most common category that respondents were planning to buy heading into Black Friday, fell 6 points to 11%, further evidence of shopper hesitancy as well as potential budget constraints. So let me go ahead and pass things off to Scott, who's really going to break this down on a category by category basis.
That's right, Val. Let's look deeper into those consumer electronics and appliance categories that you just called out. We see that purchases differed from intent, okay? But it wasn't from a lack of attractive deals. Consumer electronics on the left side, appliances on the right side here on the slide. Consumer electronics discounting was mixed, I'll give it that, but mostly in line with or a little deeper than 2023. Calling a couple categories out here, monitors, average discount percent actually increased 3 points year over year to hit 25% off. And it was Samsung and LG driving this with the two highest average promo values. And Samsung actually held the deepest discounts with an average of 34% off, a 4% year over year increase for that brand. Now, this was due to aggressive discounts up to 59% off various $500 to $1,000 price tier Odyssey monitors, while HP held the second deepest average discount at 33% after a 6-point year-over-year increase. This was a little different, though, because they advertised sub $400 monitors from the Omen series. Now, compared to 2023, Black Friday this year offered slightly higher notebook discounts. The average discount was up 1 point year-over-year to 33%. Of the items that were advertised, gaming made gains, as well as merchants like Costco, destinations like Costco. The only significant growth came from the $1,000 to $1,500 price band, which was mostly budget gaming notebooks and Microsoft Surface laptop at Costco. Conversely, the $1,500 to $2,000 segment had only half as many deals as it did last year due to a lack of premium notebooks from Apple and Windows OEMs. And now the overall average instant savings discount percentage for headphones was 40% off. This was a little bit down compared to last year amid heightened focus on lower end models this time around. Beats by Dre discounts were above average level at 45% off this year, while Apple had a 29% on average discount this year, which is actually a notable uptick of 6 points for that brand. Moving on to smartwatches, they averaged 23% off for this period. And it was retailers like Best Buy and Target that really fortified their product assortments for this season. Apple's promotional presence in this category smothered the competition, despite it having modest discounts in comparison. And now Fitbit discounts, however, were among the highest at an average of 34% off. This is not surprising. Google is killing off the Fitbit brand with the Versa and Sense lines winding down and the future of the Inspire and Charge lines uncertain. These things got to go, right? Next up, at the bottom, TVs. In the overall average instant savings discount level of 28% is 1 point deeper than last year's average. Samsung remains the most influential Black Friday TV advertiser now for the 5th consecutive year. LG, however, increased its average by 7 points year over year, a big move to bring it to 32% off, directly matching TCL's discount average and just ahead of Hisense. So this really shows how serious it's taking these brands and really feeling those competitive pressures that they're applying on it. Now, moving to the right side for major appliances, discount depths became more aggressive year over year, averaging about 39% off across all the major categories, 9 points higher on year. It's pretty good. Dishwashers and ranges averaged 41 and 33% off, which really contributed to the higher average, while refrigerators and laundry were at 39% and 38% off on average. For ranges, it was GE out there offering the largest average discount percentage during Black Friday. This was 46%, which was primarily influenced by its 5.3-foot stainless electric models. In refrigerators, Samsung offered the largest discount percentage of 43%, and actually the top 5 largest discounts around the period were all from Samsung across the channel. So moving next to floor care, the average advertised discount increased by 7 points year over year to 45% off, driven by Walmart's influx of ads. Timco showed the most aggressive discount of 50% off on average, and it actually had savings up to 66% off. Stick vacuums dominated this year's ad landscape, really reflecting consumer demand for this. And it was brands that were actually advertising entry level to like mid-premium models rather than robotic vacuums that were prioritized even earlier in the season for events like Prime Big Deals Days.
Thanks so much, Scott. It's definitely a lot of insight into discounting by categories, but let's go ahead and now take a look at where consumers shopped. Amazon, not really much of a surprise, was the top destination for Black Friday and Cyber Monday shoppers this year. So the e-commerce giant was part of 36% of the purchases that respondents made, illustrating how shopping on this platform has become a very popular destination for consumers in the US. In second was Walmart, with 22% of respondents reporting that they shopped at the merchant, which this one has a really strong omnichannel presence and it caters to value-driven purchases, definitely tying into what we saw earlier around budget-focused buys. And speaking of buys, Best Buy made up 7% of the purchases actively reported in the survey, 2 and 3 points stronger respectively than Home Depot and Lowe's, as consumer electronics, like we were saying, stayed ahead of the appliance purchases during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And these trends really just underscore Amazon's dominance, Walmart's ability to capture value-focused shoppers, and the continued consumer preference for electronics over appliances during these key holiday sales events. So Scott, you talked a lot about discounting. I want to hear the standouts. Tell me what were the best things to buy in 2024.
Thanks. Yep, we're going to do that. And we're going to start by seeing a little bit more about those key merchants that you just highlighted in that gray chart and how they're stacked up to one another, especially noting how Amazon is so dominant out there. This really makes sense considering how that platform is literally part of our daily lives out here. So in terms of competitive merchants, Amazon was not necessarily the place to get the best discounts, though. And we see that in these two charts, consumer electronics on the left, appliances on the right. It's a year-over-year breakdown of discounts by major merchant. Amazon did not lead CE, nor did it lead HA. For CE, the standout merchants were the mass merchants, as Target led with a 25% average across its consumer electronics offerings, and Walmart held consistent at a 24% average savings level year over year. Best Buy was another merchant with a consistent tactics on year, allowing Amazon, you see, to kind of creep up a percentage point here to close that gap. And we also see a little rivalry here with the warehouse merchants, both a little calmer than last year, though, in terms of discount percentages. Now, on the appliance side of this chart here, Best Buy stands out as the discount leader both this year and last, illustrating its desire to tempt buyers away from traditional home improvement stores. This strategy is to motivate its loyal Best Buy members who love perks like gift cards, things like that, thus incentivizing repeat shopping over and over again. This seems to work really well on me, you guys. And I really want to highlight that the traditional merchants, Home Depot and Lowe's for HA, were over there on the right side. Home Depot had a good uptick in its average appliance discount this year, up to 23%, taking over for Lowe's old position there as Lowe's slumped 3 points on year. And what we learned on Val's last slide is that Home Depot had a slight lead over Lowe's, and I can't help but think it was related to how they dialed up their deals this season while Lowe's dialed them back. So we'll move on now to some standout deals for Black Friday and Cyber Week period. And I noted Samsung refrigerators earlier in the show. 5 of those largest discounts during the period were from Samsung across the channel, and the Samsung refrigerators were receiving the largest discounts were its 30.1-foot bespoke panel-ready French door models, which were offered at a discount of 55% at BrandSmart. TVs, another traditional big ticket item we see out there, was doing its best to get you to upgrade. Deep discounts on large TVs, meaning 80 inches and more, QLEDs, mini LEDs, and OLED models really suggest a strategic emphasis on higher ticket items to lure consumers willing to invest in premium technology. Now, these big QLEDs and mini LED TVs contributed to this year's stronger promotions by offering deep 36% average discounts, while OLED models featured 30% savings on average. The deepest discounts in the monitor category was actually pretty lucrative, and a good example of another budget buy, 64% off the LG $549 34BQ77QB for only $199 after a $350 instant savings at Staples. This dropped the item into the sub $199 realm and into the sights and likely the price filters, Val, of those budget-minded shoppers out there. And I really want to end this slide by highlighting another budget sector deal, one that hit a new low, Apple AirPods Pro 2. This was one of the most impactful deals of Black Friday 2024, as Best Buy, Staples, Target, and Walmart advertised this model for $169, the same net price that was introduced for the first time during October's Prime Big Deals Days event. But merchants, including Amazon, ended up adjusting this even lower. Best Buy actually had a lower price of $159 you see on the tag inside its stores, undoubtedly in reaction to the lower $154 net that was now being advertised by Walmart. So it's really neat to watch this strategic change being executed at the store level in real time to keep the competition very tight this season.
Scott, I actually fell victim to this promotion and grabbed myself a pair of AirPods.
Victim, congratulations.
Yeah.
My father did too. So we're looking at +2 units just on this webinar right here. So
That's
I have to imagine it's a pretty high level of sales. Yes.
For sure. It was
Thank
a
you.
great deal.
I feel like I missed out on that. Although I do love the ones I have now, but it's hard to pass up such a good deal. Before we move on to the next section of this presentation, let's go ahead and recap the key takeaways from the 2024 holiday shopping season. So first off, holiday dynamics are shifting. A shorter shopping season combined with earlier deal rollouts like Amazon's Big Deal Days is reshaping how and when consumers shop, creating new opportunities, but also a little bit of challenges for brands and retailers alike. Second, promotions drove success. Deep discounts on high demand products like electronics and TVs proved essential in capturing the attention of value conscious shoppers and driving sales. Third up, budget conscious behavior defined the season. Most shoppers kept spending under $500, with many opting for low cost and unplanned purchases over big ticket items that they thought they were going to buy going into the season. And finally, we're seeing future holiday trends take shape here. Early deal timing, targeted pricing strategies, and evolving consumer priorities highlight critical areas where brands and retailers can focus to succeed in upcoming seasons. So with all of these key takeaways in mind, we're going to shift gears once again and dive into CES to see what's ahead.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Val. CES serves as the barometer for upcoming tech trends and innovations of the future. The event is literally the kickoff for the year ahead, and it's how I've started the last 14 of mine. So overall, these years I've attended, I've seen ups and I've seen downs, some years that really felt like a bummer, and some where I can feel the vibrance of the CE industry all around me. This was one of those years. I felt it. It felt positive. Sure, not as big as pre-COVID times, but good. Very good. The things showcased at CES were going to be the things that I monitor in my research for the cycle ahead and beyond. For me, that specifically means TVs, but going to the show for this last decade plus has helped me form a vision of the future. I see new standout technologies that will change our lives, or I'll see something in its infancy eventually take shape as a real thing as time progresses. So some of the exciting things that were out there being emphasized at this year's show, I have on the slide here. First up, AR glasses. These are getting better and more plentiful. And as this diversity continues, consumers will be met with more realistic pricing and perhaps realistic use cases that will make them an essential gadget. I'm very bullish on AR. This is going to change the way we interact with our surroundings in a very profound way in this near-term future that we see. On this next one is a little intriguing to me and a little out there, but bear with me. It's something that I think solves a very real need. A company called Cara Water impressed the heck out of me by converting air into water. This is literally something they have in Star Wars, and I can see the real world implications for this all around me. But their units are big and expensive. So the best part about CES is they miniaturized it and they debuted a coffee maker that never needs refilling. I think that's a real problem here. So Roborock is my other kind of standout here on the robot vacuum scene. They introduced the Saros Z70, an AI-powered vacuum featuring foldable omni-grip arm designed to remove floor obstacles, enhancing home cleaning efficiency. I'm someone who's been very frustrated with basic robot vacuums over the years, so I see this as an evolution of in-home robots coming in a package that we're already familiar with, vacuums. Now they're gaining arms. This will lead to more in-home companions that I think are going to start to feel really normal in these future years ahead. So speaking of the future, all those things are cool. I get it, but what impact does this really have for us here? And Master Yoda taught us that the future is always in motion and that it can be clouded by fear. And there's much to cause anxiety on the horizon. Inflation, fear of tariff uncertainty, fear of port strikes, supply chain ripples, things that are all very impactful, but ultimately outside of your control. Industry entities will be focusing, therefore, on what they can control, meaning that we will see a strong and early spring refresh as retailers and brands across industries work to get ahead of any of that stuff. This sets the stage for a positive first half, which will buoy confidence levels and make consumers more susceptible to spending, which leads to promotions. Another one of those things that we can control. Expect to see savvy media plays and well-timed promotions for these key periods. All signs from the holiday season that we just reviewed here together today show us that promotions will become strategic and more aggressive around the traditional sale event periods. This leads to value, or the perception of value, I should say. Folks still have budgets for what they consider valuable must-haves, and as the affordability of our necessities diminishes, consumers will seek value in their tech purchases, meaning not just price, but quality and price. Brands should do both. Lastly, I see these new product categories that CES was all about finally resonating with real buyers, meaning folks that were interested in cutting edge tech before will now see it maturing and falling in price, making it more accessible and a more realistic part of our lives. Of course, I'm thinking of AR and VR, but also think smart rings or other wearable tech that'll integrate seamlessly into our daily routines upcoming. Now, the future impact of these trends is more consumer-centric market where value and innovation drive purchasing decisions, retailers and brands that adapt quickly by aligning promotions with consumer expectations, and investments in emerging technologies and emphasizing both quality and affordability will thrive.
Good job, Val and Scott. Thank you for your time
Thank
today.
you.
We have a couple of questions that have come in. First question, what brands are you expecting to make major plays during Super Bowl and Prime Day? Who wants to take that one?
Scott, Super Bowl with TVs. I think you need to take that. You need to tackle that. Just to keep on.
That's right.
The other Black Friday for TVs. So everybody that asks me, hey, when should I buy a TV, Scott? Because you know when all the best deals are. I say Black Friday or Super Bowl. You can set your watch by it. And basically, we learned about the discount kind of thresholds as a barometer of like how this year's events go. Super Bowl, I'm expecting to be bullish as well. We got an official NFL partner out there, TCL, and TCL at CES this year was really they said things like we're doubling down on large screen TVs and mini LED technologies. So we're going to see some extremely competitive, very large, very flashy items from brands, specifically TCL. I'm also earmarking Hisense, and then it's going to be up to Samsung and LG to really fend off those two competitors. If there's one thing 2024 showed us, it was really how serious we should be taking these other brands like TCL and Hisense, and just being the established leader in the market like Samsung and LG are, it's not enough, and they're going to have to pull out some big stops. So I guess to answer that question really shortly, I'm looking to my official NFL partner here to razzle dazzle me again, and I'm also looking for competitive reactions from the other major brands that have previously been leaders in the market.
Awesome, great insight. The next question we have on the competitive merchant insights slide about appliance holiday season discounts, maybe 19 or 20, Val. The Home Depot and Lowe's were the stacked buy more, save more included in the average discount calculation. For the Home Depot and Lowe's, did we include the stacked buy more, save more in that average calculation?
Okay, so I put those slides together. I'll dive in on this one too, please, Val. So forgive me for not being familiar as a consumer electronics analyst what a stacked buy more save more is, but I can tell you the methodology of what was included in those tower charts. It's basically the everything that is an advertised discount or an unadvertised sort of in-store discount that was offered at the brick and mortar level or just online, and essentially it's instant savings. So if a stacked buy more save more, is that maybe like a build a bundle? We would be capturing like that advertised like save up to $1,000 when you add up to things, or we would be capturing the individual instant savings off of the MSRPs of the individual products that all got aggregated together across all the Mad App categories for that like top level Home Depot stat that I think we're referring to. I hope that helps.
Great, thank you. The next question, is it still worth comparing promotions to pre-pandemic times, or are we now in a new era?
I can take that. I think that we're in a new era in a lot of ways. I mean, even just our buying behavior, not to use a lot of buzzwords here, but we'll do it anyway. We already knew that there was a shift to e-commerce. The pandemic absolutely accelerated that. That's the buzzword there. So our shopping behavior is changing. Now, when it comes to promotions, I still think it's worth taking a look at pre-pandemic times. There's a nice baseline there and kind of like foundational for what we're looking at ahead. But now I think we're also at a point where we have some nice year over year, with 2023 being the most normal year that we've seen since the pandemic. And so when I look at my analysis and data, I definitely do a 2024 versus 2023 to see how we're moving the needle there. And then I hop over to look at 2019 to see that's where we were. Where are we relative to that?
Great. One more question. How do you see the future of key selling period events such as Black Friday, with the ever increasing role of online shopping taking some of the urgency out of going in store?
Scott, I think that your experience shopping was just a strong testament to that already. I mean, I know you visited stores, so that actually puts you in a good spot to buy something that day on Black Friday, but you didn't actually buy anything. So I love it. I know like a decade ago, Scott and I used to go out to stores the day before and the day before that, and we'd see people camped out. So to that point, urgency is definitely gone. But I think that there's also a little bit of urgency when it comes to purchasing online. I don't know about you all, but if I go to like Amazon, for example, those deals, if I don't get on them fast, they're either out of stock or I missed it. So I think the shift in urgency has shifted a little, or that urgency has shifted a little bit. Scott, I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
That was perfect, Val. I think you actually highlighted this on one of the earlier slides when we talked a little bit about like hesitancy. So just speaking from my own experience out there at Black Friday, yeah, I was too busy trying to catch people in the parking lot trying to fit giant TVs into their tiny cars. So I didn't have time to buy stuff. But basically, like there was a little bit of fatigue that happened, but mixed with also hesitancy. And just speaking for myself, I was like, look at all these deals. And I was like, well, I know they're still gonna be active, so I'm gonna look later. Like I literally went out there on Black Friday and did my thing and didn't even feel pressured that the deals would expire, because I knew I would get that email tomorrow morning saying, guess what? Black Friday is extended. And, and then Cyber Monday starts early. And like, literally it's this like stretched, like elongation of the period. So it was very much front loaded. So people were like, oh, that's a great deal, but I'm going to wait to see how good it is. Speaking towards like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, like consumers, as evidenced by the survey, their mind share is locked in. They know about those events. So even if they're like, haven't been looking in the season earlier and were numbed by those early season deals, I feel like Black Friday was the first day that like a lot of those folks really paid attention to stuff, but then they maybe still didn't buy because like, yeah, it's gonna be here all season. And that might change depending on how the supply chain tariff stuff and all those kind of scary things I talked about in the future slide impacts us in the latter half of the year. We might see a little bit of a shift because people are like, we got to get it now before it sells out. And they're remembering the empty shelves of like those COVID supply chain kink years. But I really think that it's, that numbing effect kind of before, and it sort of relaxes the urgency of the individual event, but we're still trained to like tune in on that day for those deals. I hope that answers everything.
That looks like we've covered all of our questions. But in case those of you who joined us a little bit later, you can ask questions through the activities button in the bottom of your screen. If you click on that, there's a portion called Q&A, and you can submit your question there. So I will cover a few more housekeeping items to see if any additional questions come in. Thank you again for joining us today. Great job, Val and Scott, for your time today and all of the work that you put into this. It was very insightful. I learned a couple of new things for sure. But for those of you that are joining us, we will send and share the slides as well as the video to the recording in the next several business days. Again, feel free to always reach out and contact either Val, Scott, or myself if you have any questions regarding the information that you heard here today. We're happy to follow up with you. And it looks like that's all we've got for today. So thank you.
Nice. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for all your support today, Stacy, too. This was fantastic.
Actually, one question just popped in. Let me see. Let's see. Sorry. One last question. Do you have any intel on the chart you had about shopping by retailer for the PC industry?
Short answer is
yes. And yes, we do. We can get as granular as possible. I would love for you to reach out to your analyst contact on the PC team. His name is Avery. It's Avery Bissett, and You guys may be familiar on the PC side with him already. So I'm sure if he doesn't have something on hand, that's something you two can discuss tremendously. Perhaps follow up with us after the call, and if you're not already connected, and we'll get you guys dialed in.